Excellent.
Oh, thank you.
Yes,
I
Emma.
learn quickly.
You what?
I learn quickly.
Oh, good. Emma came and showed a number of films some months ago, including The Queen's Monastery, which is a particular favourite of mine. Most recently, she's been working on a commission for
Norwich Castle Museum in Norwich.
In Norwich.
Which is sort of Norfolk County Council or whatever.
As a video installation.
Yeah, so it's a Boudica, basically it's a Boudica, they've got a Boudica gallery, and for people that don't know who Boudica is, they used to call her Boudica when most of us were children, but they discovered that when they transcribed some of the Latin in sort of writings about her, that they'd actually misspelt the name. So about, 10, 15, maybe 20 years ago, they renamed her Boudica. But they've got this very nice gallery, but they had not a very good film in the gallery that had commissioned about 15 years ago. So they set a sort of open call out, which I think they advertised it through Animate, the guy that used to run Animate sent out emails to lots of people thinking you've got one.
Gary Thomas.
Gary, yeah. So
he still runs Animate.
He still runs Animate, but without the
without the money.
But without the money, yeah. Without
but I mean, they still
Sorry, they still exist, but they don't have funding. Anyway, basically sent that out to everybody in animation, and I read it and I just thought, oh, that sounded just up my street. Normally it was a small budget, normally I wouldn't think about even sort of putting something in for such a small budget, but because I was particularly interested in the character, I just thought, oh yeah, go for it. So anyway, you have to ask me some more questions because I've got a bit of a cold, so I'm over talk.
Well, this is one of those things when I actually applied for the same project and didn't get it. So, so Ged, it all comes around.
It's taken a long time.
I was particularly very interested in the approach that you've taken for this, actually using materials. So you got to animate with Roman coins, I believe.
Well, I think I'll show the things after probably, because it's nicer to really see the film first. But when I sort of was thinking of ways of making the film, initially I was thinking of more of a style, a bit like the Queen's Monastery with watercolour. But obviously, because the budget was so incredibly small, I was thinking, well, I don't really want to do, I can't possibly do full animation for this. So I'll have to probably do sort of cut-out stuff. And I did some design and I started sort of cutting them out and collaging them, and I didn't really like the look of it very much. And I was just sort of leaving my studio, and I noticed this little bit of broken pottery that I'd drawn a face on. And I thought, hang on a minute, that would really work, this sort of idea of fragments and things being dug out of the ground, sort of archaeological stuff. That's really going to go well with the idea. So that was my starting point, was this little face that I think it was a bit of pottery that I'd found mud-larking with Jill Bradley, who's another animator. We sort of sometimes go, I don't know if anyone knows what mud-larking is. It's where you go on the banks of the River Thames and sort of look for like rubbish, old rubbish, like really old rubbish, like it's whatever you can find, but we normally sort of find Victorian pottery and sort of rusty old nails and things. So that was the starting point.
The connection is that one of the most famous Iron Age finds in the British Museum, which is a bronze shield, which is exquisite, was found under Vauxhall Bridge or something.
Very close by. And actually I did find some Iron Age pottery, but I didn't actually realise until I started working on this that actually I already had some of my own. But they gave me once they really liked the idea of me using kind of found objects and bits of stuff, and I said I'd like to use things from the museum, and I think that was probably the strongest selling point. Although, funnily enough, they did actually quite like the other style as well. So when I presented the sort of pitch to them, I did show a choice of characters. You know, I gave them the other style, plus I gave them the little collaged characters. But once I got the job, they let me go in and look through all their collections, and they gave me Roman coins and stuff to take back to my
And you've now had to
studio.
post them back to them.
Well, I'm going to take them up to them. I'm not going to refuse them. But, you know, it was just, but that was fantastic, handling all this really old stuff.
Yeah.
But I'm not supposed to tell anybody because they get into trouble if they knew. So
Oh, okay.
shit. Well, but then I cut that bit out. Didn't
Yeah, that won't go on there. That won't be on YouTube.
Yeah, he said, don't tell it. Every time someone came in the room, he's going, shh. It's like, you know, we have to sort of do it a bit secret.
But this does seem like a job that could have been created for you, because when we last saw you, you showed a number of your random person animations, and some time ago you said you wanted to make one a week for a year. You've certainly produced a lot of them, and they're very much about materials. They're about things animating. They're sort of, broadly speaking, stop motion. And to imagine a project where you get to, play around with things, including museum exhibits, and use watercolor and illustration and so on. It seems, very much you've created a project that, but for the fee is a dream project for you.
Well, I think also that's the reason why, with something like Random Person, which was done, off my own back and in the gap period between, doing books and earning a bit of money and then not having any paid work, but trying to sort of get back into doing animation after a break. Although when I look at the films, I'm pretty critical of them technically because I've had to do them quickly and with no money at all. It's going through that kind of process of being creative and keeping on going, not just sort of sitting there thinking shit.
Deadlines could be very good in that respect, to sort of force you.
I did them quickly because that was the only way I could afford to do them quickly.
Yeah.
I couldn't spend like a year making each one. I'd be dead by the time I'd get through. But I was never going to get through them if I'd have to live to like 200 or something. So that's why I did try and do them like that. But obviously, as soon as I started doing the Boudica book, I had to stop making Random Person. And she's now waiting for her next role. She needs a new body, and I'm just about to gear up to make her a new body.
You make it sound like the muse is speaking through you, that the Random Person is demanding that you grant her another film, that you breathe life into her.
Yeah, well, I think I have to get back into it, because even though the budget was small, it was a budget, and the budget does allow you to do something slightly better than you would do if you had no money. I mean, I was able to employ like 3 people, Katerina, Julian and Hugh, wherever he is. He hasn't showed up yet. Even though, I only could employ all of them for a very short amount of time, like, a day each, a few days each. So there's but at least then, as you start feeling, God, I've got a team again.
Yeah.
That's the hellish thing about doing stuff completely on your own.
Tell me about it.
Like Random Person is completely on my own, and I can't even really ask Julian. Well, he does help occasionally, just shift the light, but it's not like having a professional lighting person who you can, get to. You still have to do it, don't you? You still have to help Hugh, but still, Hugh's not here yet. But it's obviously, that starts feeling like you're back in business, making a proper film again.
Yeah.
But anyway, so that was good. Should we see the film, and then what I could do is then show some of the things that went into the film, because I brought some photocopies of some
And
of
I
the
hope we can
objects.
show a bit of Random Persons. I've got the Queen's Monastery there if you want to show that again. And you mentioned the Annie Lennox music.
Yeah, I thought it might
video.
be quite fun to look at something else that was done in a very collagey kind of way to a sort of very tight.
Did you work on the Annie Lennox video?
No.
Oh, okay.
No.
I did a lot of the Queen's Monastery.
Yeah. Well, yes.
The exciting bit.
This is great that we can do a sort of a catch-up event and to find out what filmmakers have been doing more recently and so on. So a number of you have already delivered talks here, and I do hope I can persuade you to come back and show more recent work. So this is wonderful. Okay, so do you want to say how many times this has been shown in a public arena?
Hasn't been shown in the public arena. Oh, well, apart from the museum, of course.
Yeah, but this is the London premiere, isn't it?
Yeah, I suppose so.
Not for the purposes of applying to a film festival.
Oh yeah, no,
but,
it's only been shown like sort of continuously on a loop every day in the museum since November. But apart from those,
apart from that, apart from being screened about 100,000 times, this is the London premiere.
Yeah, London premiere.
Okay, well that's wonderful and an exclusive. Right, for the newcomers, the screening facilities are somewhat ad hoc. And it'll take me a minute to set the room up, but yes, do you want to say anything to
I
introduce
just
the
want
film?
to say briefly that the brief was the brief was open, but they didn't. There were a couple of things they were very keen on. One was because it was in a museum, they didn't want the sound to be at all obtrusive, and they wanted it very, very gentle, and they didn't want any voices. And so I was a bit restricted because I had to tell quite a complicated story. Boudica's whole revolt and sort of fighting the Romans and everything was quite a complex story. And originally they wanted a 3.5-minute film. Well, they wanted a 5-minute film, but then decided they couldn't pay for a 5-minute film. So then they said it was a 3.5-minute film. But when I storyboarded it, I realised it couldn't be a successful film at 3.5 minutes, so I made it 5.
Yeah.
But I also ended up using a few captions, so that was the sort of only way I could. Wasn't the only way I could tell the story, but it worked sufficiently. But they're minimal. But the soundtrack, I would have probably liked to have done something a bit more with the soundtrack, but because of the context, it had to be kind of laid back. But anyway, and they just, because I think they just the people that work in the museum get really kind of irritated by the noise all the time on the loop as well.
Oh yeah, the attendance. Okay,
So
right.
let's go
Well,
ahead.
I'll
Yep.
press ahead.